Dear participants, honorable speakers, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to have all of you today for I-WELD Leadership Program Day 2. Thank you for spending your valuable time with us and make this event happen. If you joined ILP Day 1 yesterday, welcome back. My name is Diana and I will be your host for today. Before we start our session, I would like to remind everyone of the house rules. Participants, please ensure your microphone is on mute. If you have any questions for our speakers, feel free to type it in the chat box. If the forum gets disconnected, please rejoin using the same link. This session is being recorded and may be posted on social medias. Participants, must I remind to stay until the end of the program to claim your e-certificate. Before we begin, I would like to share a brief introduction about I-WELD and the I-WELD Leadership Program. I-WELD stands for International Welfare, Economics, and Leadership Dialogue. It is a youth-led non-profit organization of passionate and driven youth. We also connect and create bonds with youth from other parts of the world. Our programs and initiatives at I-WELD address different facets of welfare, economics, and leadership. We also aim to develop world-class leaders in politics and business. We are proud to announce that ILP is one of I-WELD's biggest flagship event for the year 2021. The main purpose of this event is to inspire youth from all around the world to develop the skills to be effective and successful future leaders with vision and integrity. Other than that, we hope to educate youth on leadership styles and behavior through the inspiring and engaging sessions with industry professionals that are with us today. This program will serve as a platform for developing potential leaders, which will encourage and engage youth in various fields. This year, we bring to you I-WELD Leadership Program with the theme Leadership Within You. Moving on to the moment we all have been waiting for, I-WELD Leadership Program Day 2 will cover the topic Evolution of Leadership in the 21st Century. This module will discuss topics related to technology, leadership styles, and many more. In this modern era, it's true that youth are being more exposed to the use of technology. Hence, it is important for all of us to have a proper understanding about technology and how leadership has evolved. I would like to remind our participants to pay attention and take note throughout the session because we will have a Kahoot segment later on. Top 3 winners from the Kahoot will win a special recognition certificate that could be useful for you to use and to insert in your resume, also your CV. Without wasting time, I will now pass the stage to Ms. Madiha Fuad, the moderator for Module 3, alongside speakers Dr. Nisa, Mr. Monir, and Mr. Manoj. Let's welcome them to the virtual stage.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thank you, Diana. First of all, my name is Madiha Fuad. I'm the founder of Plus Vibes, a mental health solutions provider with a mobile app, data analytics, and workshops. I'm honored to be moderating this session, focusing on evolution of leadership in the 21st century. We've got some brilliant minds here, and I'm excited to hear their thoughts and on how leadership should be evolved. I'd like to introduce our inspiring speakers. We have Manoj Agarwal, who is a business strategist, trainer, coach, and founder of Tetra Noodle Technologies, which focuses on big data and AI consulting. He has 4 patents to his name in the field of AI and machine learning, and he has helped companies like Microsoft, IBM, Pearson, and many more to build globally scalable systems. We also have Monir Azuzi, who has extensive experience in digital and cultural transformation. In Gojek, Southeast Asia's super app, he is playing a critical role in transforming HR from being a startup-centric to a more corporate version. He is also leading everything related to people, organizational, and IT infra matters in Gotoko, a joint venture between Unilever and Gojek. And last but not least, we have Dr. Nisa, a dedicated 35-year-old academician with a PhD in creative multimedia. She is now the Dean of Faculty of Arts and Science at the International University of Malaysia and Wales. She is active in the area of academic leadership, research, and visual arts. And she has also won several awards, such as the Best PhD Thesis at Multimedia University. So we've got some amazing minds here, and I hope you guys are all excited, as am I, to hear about the evolution of leadership, their leadership style, and what needs to be done in order for you to become really good leaders. So without further ado, let's start with the first question, which is, what has changed today in leadership compared to the past? So of course, the first thing that comes to mind is the COVID-19 pandemic and how it has basically forced leaders to become agile and tech savvy in order to manage their team digitally, right? So we would love to hear your thoughts on this. Maybe we can start with Manush. What are your thoughts on how leadership has changed compared to the past?
Leaders are basically there to show the direction and sort of pull their team into the right direction and help them solve the problems when they occur. And all this means we have to have very frequent communication with our team members. And as we were talking before we joined the panel, it has changed quite a bit since the pandemic, because most of us, we have been forced to work remotely, and nothing can replace face-to-face communication, because we all know that verbal communication is only part of the communication. The rest of, like, majority of the communication happens non-verbally, like our facial expressions, our body language and such. And those things are not captured very easily on Zoom or remote meetings. So we've had to adjust, and we've had to really slow down our communication, listen to our team members, listen to their concerns. And the other thing is, in a remote environment, many people do not like to participate in meetings. They shy away. They don't bring up their concerns. They don't want to bring the focus on them. So we really need to encourage people to speak up, to be more communicative, to express their concerns. And most importantly, we want to create a safe space for our team members to express their concerns, so that they don't feel threatened, or they don't feel any hesitance in sharing their ideas. Rather, feel encouraged. They feel encouraged to share their ideas, even if they are new to the team, or they feel like they don't have all the equipped sort of answers. In my team, I encourage even my interns, even the junior people, to speak up, to share their ideas, because sometimes they are the ones who come up with the most brilliant ideas, because they have a very fresh point of view on things.
So that's interesting that you spoke about non-verbal communication, right? I read this article, which basically by Harvard Business Review, and it was saying that leaders are struggling digitally because you can't see the empathy, you can't see the level of concern, or whether the team member is struggling, right? So how do you really project that kind of empathy and non-verbal communication digitally?
Yeah. So as I said, we got to do what we can do. So we need to get a little bit better at reading facial expression. So if the person is saying yeah, but their facial expression are not aligning with what they are saying, they may be hiding something. They may be superficially agreeing to your point of view, but they may have some confusion. They may have some piece of information missing. The other thing, as I said, we really need to start getting better at listening. So slowing down the communication, and then also focusing on the tone. So as I said, if you say, yes, I agree, that's a different tone. But you say, yeah. So, you can hear that difference in tone. And then as leaders, we need to really dig deeper and not let it go until we have a good alignment on. So if I hear a doubt in the tone, then I say, you are agreeing with me, then but I don't really hear that in your tone. What am I missing? Please help me understand that. So when we encourage people to express their views, they generally open up, and then they share whatever else is going on underneath the covers.
That's an interesting point. It's true. It's communication. It's how you express that non-verbal communication. It's active listening, right? Listening to their tone and whether they really understand, because you can't really gauge if it's digital, right? Monir, what are your thoughts on how leadership has changed other than communication and non-verbal communication?
Yeah, I mean, I would say leadership has become more important than ever now, because we are far from our employees, but at the same time, they need us more than ever. So I would say there are 5, 6 areas that really has changed significantly. I mean, one thing is management is happening anytime, anywhere, which has helped us have a higher efficiency in the way that we are managing if we are able to use technology right. So there are plenty of project management tools, task management tools. I mean, you have Asana, you have Trello, which really works well. If you don't know them, try to Google some of those names. It's really great. It's collaboration tools that you know who's working on what with deadlines and so forth. If you have a proper HR department, you can probably do performance reviews, talent reviews, you know, take notes of your one-on-ones and so forth on your mobile phone. So there are plenty of opportunities, but management is now happening anytime, anywhere, and no longer, you know, during the physical one-on-ones or over the desk. The other area, which I find is probably the most important part, is leaders must drop the line of sight management style or input evaluation approach. And with this, I mean, when I say input approaches, in the past, whether we liked it or not, a lot of leaders or managers, I would say, were evaluating their employees on the time they spend in office, because sometimes it can be difficult to measure other ways if you're not an experienced leader. But today, with management technologies that I just said, like Asana and Trello and so forth, you can actually see who's doing what and whether they're meeting their deadlines and so forth. And I would also say leadership should be more outcome-based today than input-based. And that's a switch, that's a change in leadership that managers need to learn. And the last part is the managers who used to micromanage, they are really suffering, and so are their teams, because you're no longer just sitting next to them. So if you want to micromanage your team, you have to arrange Zoom meetings or Google Meets meetings all the time, which means you have to block people's calendars, because you can no longer just ask your employees over the desk. So I would say the second one is really drop the line of sight management style and become much more outcome-based and impact-based in measuring your team's performance. The other thing is, as I said, you're no longer sitting next to your team as a leader. So the focus for the employees should be on who they're working with and not based on hierarchy. And what I mean here is a lot of the tech companies today, and I see non-tech companies trying to do that as well, is they're working in squads or pods. And that's something that companies like Spotify is doing a lot, Gojek, Gotoko. What I mean here is you're no longer working in, you know, if you are a product marketing person, you're not just working with your manager and asking for feedback. You're actually working with a team of product managers. You might be working with a designer, the product marketeer is there, of course, and they together are working on specific projects or initiatives that they need to launch together. So suddenly it's more important that you work well with your squad than with your direct manager. And that's something that the managers must accept, especially now when we are not in office. So top-down decision-making based on hierarchical leadership must be limited, and we must replace it with more empowered teams and empowered individuals. So that's the third area. The fourth one, as Manoj mentioned just now, I mean, we are now managing hybrid teams in the sense that a lot of our employees work remote, and some employees, well, hopefully very soon, will be able to go into office if that's what they want. How do we make sure that our remote employees feel a sense of belonging and part of the team if the manager is sitting in the office with the team members? So when small things like when you're in the meeting room with some people and others are remote, you can't suddenly turn to the employees in the room and have a short chit chat to decide something, because that's what we normally do. Well, that's what we used to do when we were in office. The second last one is culture and community building. The thing is, a lot of employees now, since we are working from home, I mean, I haven't been in office since February 2020, except for one day. It's really important that we find ways to engage our employees and create a culture that that makes sure that it doesn't matter whether you are in office or whether you are working from home or from a coffee shop, or whether you're sitting in Bali or in the headquarters in Jakarta. That shouldn't matter. If you get that right, your attrition will be lower. You need to create a common language or common ways of working despite of you sitting at home or in the office. If you get these things right, you'll be able to create a much higher sense of belonging. You'll have more engaged teams. And of course, the performance will follow suit. The last part is then well-being. I'm in HR. I've never heard so much talking about well-being as we started since the pandemic took over the world. So we hear about a lot of employees having burnout, young parents with smaller children, and families at home who gets disturbed all the time and they get really stressed. Unfortunately, in Southeast Asia, it's typically the women who are most impacted because of the culture. And then you have the unwell family members because of COVID or other reasons, and so forth. So leaders have to start caring about not just your KPIs or OKRs, but also about your employees' well-being. So while in the past, and I'm guilty myself, in the past, I didn't want to interfere too much in people's personal lives, before the pandemic. But now it's part of my job to ensure that my team members are doing well. So I have to show interest in their personal life, how their families are doing, whether they're coping with life at work, because it's so integrated now. So 6 things, if you're taking notes: management anywhere and anytime, which causes high efficiency if you're doing it right. Drop the line of sight management style. Focus on the employees you're working with instead of hierarchy. Being able to manage hybrid teams, then culture and community building, and the last one, well-being. That's the areas that really have changed the way leaders are leading today.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, because when you talk about leading without, it's different than on-site management, right? So you have to use all these tools, all these things. But then again, how do you not micromanage when your team is working from home? The thing is, from the corporate companies that I've spoke with, their employees tend to get burned out, like you said, because they work from morning until night, because they can't juggle that time management with the children, with the spouse having to do meetings. So they have to take turns in taking care of things at home. So then as a leader, how do you have that kind of compassion or accept that kind of, not to say excuse, but that kind of situation where your team can't really become so productive because they have external issues affecting them at home?
That's where I'm saying that we need to check in more often, but not to check on whether they're doing their work. In Gojek, for example, or Gotoko, I don't have any issues with employees not working hard enough. It's more on the contrary, they work too hard. So that's why we need to be much more outcome-based and encourage our employees to chill a little bit, go on vacation. So for me, for example, I have one-on-ones with every team member once a week, and we have stand-ups almost every morning with my entire team. And we have a weekly meeting where the whole team meets and discuss what we are working on, making sure that we are all aligned so nothing falls between the cracks, because we can no longer just turn around and speak to each other. And then once a month, I'm having one-on-ones where I'm discussing feedback, expectations for the month, and employee development. And of course, you can't avoid having a casual chit chat during those sessions. So I do check in much more, but not to micromanage, but more to find out how people are doing.
Yeah, because in the end, I think that's the main thing, right? When employees are at home, you can't really show that you care. So then when you check in on them, they'll feel like, okay, my team member cares about me. It's not just about working. So I guess they'll work more sincerely, I guess, no?
Absolutely. I've heard of companies who are trying to check when people are checking in on their laptops, when they're checking out, and all those things. I honestly find it ridiculous. It's not really needed. because people do care about delivering great results. And I forgot to mention, which you just mentioned, I mean, people want to have fun. So in my old team in Gojek, I used to have every second week, we would have fun sessions, just 1 hour where we do quizzes, tell lame dad jokes or whatever we have. So we do have the casual catch-ups that we would normally do in the canteen or somewhere else. We now have them via Zoom. It feels a little bit geekish, but we have to get used to it.
Okay, thank you so much, Monu. Okay, Dr. Nisa, in the academic world, so based on your research and what you're surrounded with, how has academic leadership changed compared to the past?
Well, first off, I welcome the change. I'm not to say, obviously nobody is happy with how pandemic attacks the whole world and the difficulties that it brings. They're certainly not. But I believe that one thing, at least on academic line, one thing that I find it useful, or how it shaped us and improved us, is the fact that the technology is now not an option anymore, is needed, right? So one thing, like, I feel like as the leader to the team, I find it develop my trust more with the team members, like because you learn to trust them, because you have to trust them, you know, because they are not, like what you say, they're not inside it, they're not at the office. So hence you have to know that they will be able to deliver. And I would like to echo a lot with what Moni mentioned. I do not really, I keep on mentioning that it's not important for me how long you work or your duration. You know, you come in, you clock in at 8 o'clock, and then you check out at 8 o'clock at night. So it's like 12 hours of working, but you produce only one thing, right? So, but if you actually clock in at 8, you clock out at 12, but you produce 4 things. So it's a different thing. So, and I really like to echo that. And I believe that the fact that we are working remotely, I can see that even better, clearer. There are better ways for me to track of how these are doing what and they are doing what somehow. And I believe also one thing that I noticed is that we organize meetings even more effectively. And I'm not a big fan of big long meetings. I'm going to say that right now. So meetings for me have to be with a purpose and with an outcome based from the meetings. It's not just you come in and then you give your things and review past minutes and then nothing came out of it, you know. So yeah, you come in, you review past minutes, but you learn from it and then action plan what's going to be taken next. So everybody should leave a meeting knowing something valuable. But there are, you know, once a month meeting where it's more of like a checkup meeting that everybody have to attend to, which is understandable, right? But any other meetings besides that has to be an outcome based. So I noticed that the moment we're all working remotely and we're relying on technology, our meetings are more efficient. So it's more straightforward. It's more on, okay, what do we need to, what do we need to achieve, and so on and so forth. So with as I mentioned, with technology and education, previously it's almost like, okay, let's use it as a tool to deliver, you know, yeah, let's use it as a tool to help lecturers and so on and so forth to deliver the lesson. But now it's no longer just an extra tool anymore. It is your delivery. It is your pedagogy. You know, using technology, it is your pedagogy. You have to not be content with how you used to teach before. I keep on telling that to my team, and something that I feel like as a leader, it's important that I keep on telling them, informing them that you have to stay relevant. How we used to teach is relevant back then. It's not relevant now. It will not be relevant in 10, 20 years time. And you still want to keep this career in 10 and 20 years time. What do? You keep on being relevant. So, and one way to be relevant is you keep up with the technology. You keep up with online learning. You keep up with what do you call this, micro-credentialing. You keep up all of these new ways of learning. And I noticed that how my son learns right now is going to be different than how I learned when he turned 20 and when I'm turning 20, right? But when he's turned 20, I still want to be in this career. Right? So I cannot stick in the how I used to, you know, how the mindset or how I used to know. how lesson used to be delivered. I cannot think of it that way. So that's what I'm trying to help to shape my team to also have the same mindset, not just for the sake of the faculty or for the sake of the university, but also for them as an individual. So one thing I find how technology assists me as a leader is previously, before the pandemic hits, I've been trying to tell them to, work out on your technology, educational tools, technology, but it's a small little bits of pieces that I'm trying to get them to evolve, you see. But the moment the moment pandemic hits and they have to turn to technology, and this is where I'm like, okay, full blown, let's go. And that's how I feel technology change truly in an academic line. And as a leader, how do you make sure your teams can actually keep up to that and maintain that relevancy? So for them, well, for the faculty, but also for them as their career.
Yeah, that's interesting, Dr. Nisa, because I think I've read somewhere that previously universities, schools were trying to adopt this digital transformation, by doing everything digitally. They want to become more efficient, but a lot of academicians weren't open to it because they weren't tech savvy. So do you find difficulty in guiding your team to become tech savvy when actually they're like, I don't know how to use this? Perhaps they're in an older generation, so they're like, how do I do this? I've never done this before. So how do you guide your team?
Yes, goodness, you have no idea how much I resonate to your statement. And I truly, this is one thing where you see how an academician, or if you work in an education line, you are to be expected to produce graduates who can apply the knowledge, right? High quality graduates. You do not want to hear, we've heard a lot, and as a lecturer, this is something that I'm trying to preach, or in a way I'm trying to fill the gap. Because we've heard a lot about how graduates graduated and say, oh, what I learned, I can't use at work. Right? And we heard a lot about companies saying that I hire graduates and they don't know how to do the work. So, and there must be a gap there, right? So to echo what you said, the reception, how they receive the technology, yes, there has been challenges. I must say, I'm not going to say all unicorns and rainbow over here, especially those who has been in academic line for so long. Like what I said, they're content. They know what have been practiced before, and they practice what they are used to. So changes in any organization, I think changes are difficult in whatever manner, especially when a culture is built, right? But I welcome the challenge. So I'm not afraid of challenge. I don't shy away from challenge. So for me, it's just lay out, why is this important? Why is this good, not for the faculty, but for you? And how is it good for your students? At the end of the day, as an academician, as a lecturer, you live for your students. You do all the things for your students. So how is this going to be good for your students? Remember, your career, number one, is student. What is good for students? So if you can't change your method because of your students, then you're in the wrong line. As simple as that. So that's my approach. And they have to see it, especially that's why I said pandemic helps. Not because of the situation. I do not favor the situation. I do not, but in a way, a silver lining of it, it makes people see how they have to change. And it makes my job slightly easier because they saw the need. They saw the need clearer, right? And then they just follow through. So that's how it is. So it's about reflecting. If this is a career you want, you have to anyway smell the coffee, and then make the change. So that's what it is.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Nisa. That was very insightful. Okay. So the first question was about leadership and how do you manage your team and how your leadership style has changed within your team, right? Now let's focus on the current pandemic, how it has also affected agility and ability to make immediate decision-making. So Manush, how have you transformed your leadership style into making quicker, slower decisions? How do you make that kind of change?
Well, I mean, the fact is that change is the only thing that is constant in our lives, and with the pandemic, the change happened so drastically and so quickly that there was no option but to be agile and react to it. Now, the thing is that every crisis can be looked upon as a crisis or as an opportunity, um, because people who are the leaders, people who are innovators, they can see that something has changed, and that change has caused a crisis, people trying to figure out what is the solution here, what how do we move forward. But as these people are trying to figure out, that means there is an opportunity for us to help them and help them find these solutions. So for me, I have to encourage my team, which I did previously as well, but now we have to be more aggressive to experiment with new ideas. So as both speakers said, like we cannot sit with our thumbs twiddling and said, hey, this is the situation. Let's just wait for the pandemic to pass by. But we have to say, okay, what are your ideas? These are the problems. Let's put all the crazy ideas on the table and let's try some of them. What is the worst that will happen? We will fail. The failure is not a failure unless we learn a lesson from it, and then we try again. And and that's how we improve. We try something, we fail at it, and then we analyze, okay, why did we fail at this? Why didn't we get the results? So to answer your question, basically we have to become fearless, from the fear of failure, experiment more, gather enough data so that we can make data driven decisions and say, okay, this is the approach that will work. The other thing is, I'll go back to my previous answer as well. As we are trying to manage our organizations, manage our customer expectations, manage our vendors, partners, what have you, again it comes back to active listening. What is going on in their world? What are the challenges they are facing? Monir talked about um, uh, the personal lives of our employees. That has to be taken into account. When we talk with our partners, sometimes they are facing some challenges, cash flow problems, things like that. And in those instances, we cannot be forcing them to comply with our terms. Things have changed quite a bit. So it's all about getting comfortable with the change, and then, as I said, experimenting with new ideas to deal with that change.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. So in order to be quicker and agile in decision making, it's about being fearless. It's about gathering enough data so that you're equipped to make that kind of decision, right? Monir, what are your thoughts? How do you make immediate decisions? Oh, sorry, Monir.
Yes, I was on mute. Well, I would say technology is God-given, I would say. I mean, it's been amazing how many opportunities technology have opened for us. I mean, something, okay, that maybe some of the students can't relate to, despite me still being a Gen Y or millennial or whatever it's called, I still belong to the generation that had to go to the library to find books about topics, but I also belong to the generation that could just go to Google and find all the answers. So as a student, you are much more efficient in gaining knowledge today compared to when I was a little boy at first or second grade. It's the same for leaders. I mean, the amount of opportunities and empowerment that leaders have gotten thanks to technology is countless. I was out with two of my friends who's having a startup, and they were telling me before the pandemic, they had to fly to the US or fly to Singapore, wherever they had to do that pitching, and they would spend days or weeks on just, planning the trip, setting up the meetings and so forth. But after the pandemic, and thanks to technology, of course, they could have several investor meetings, and they told me we have never been able to raise this much funds in such a short time. And that's definitely because of technology. I mean, Manoj, you are in the in the AI space. I mean, the amount of data we are having today to be able to measure everything, to do things, to be more empowered through data. We have much more insights today that helps us make better decisions. When it comes to project management, I mean, you have tools again that are so great, both when it comes to UI and UX. So UI is user interface, so how it looks on the screen, and UX is the experience the user is having when using these tools. So I would say technology has been great. It's been helping us a lot if you know how to use it. The other side of the coin, of course, is burnout. I mean, people who don't know how to control the increased efficiency, they end up working 24/7 pretty much. And that does take a toll on their mental health. Work-life balance, work-life integration, I mean, whatever you call it, I mean, everything is combined now, because I mean, I'm having Slack, which is kind of WhatsApp for work. People are WhatsApping me their emails. There's Asana, as I've been mentioning a few times, or Trello. So I'm always on. So if I don't know how to control myself, I can do work 24/7. So on one side of the coin is we are more empowered as leaders. We are more efficient. We can do more in less time. On the other side is if we don't know how to control this, it will take a toll on our mental health.
Wow, that's so true. I think I'd also like to contribute in this in terms of agility and immediate decision-making. So actually, Plus Vibes is only 1 year old. We started out last year during the pandemic. So it was immediate decision-making. It's about identifying what the market wants and needs. So again, it's similar to what Monir and Manager said, which is fearless in terms of decision-making, in terms of executing, in terms of aggressive, executing all these kind of things in terms of what the public needs. So it's about talking to a counselor, therapist, immediate chat support, motivational articles and video, everything focused on well-being, right? And again, it's also technology. So what we did was we collected data for corporate companies, which departments have major areas of concern like financial, stress, or childcare, and then we would create solutions to that. But all of that was done in 1 year. So imagine how fast we had to keep on changing, pivoting directions. It wasn't changing, it was pivot. Okay, this is what the market needs and demands right now. Okay, let's try to do this kind of data collection and help companies. And then they were just like, okay, we have this data, what do we do next? Okay, it's about creating solutions. We need to create workshops. So we gathered a team of subject matter experts, facilitators, coaches. So again, it's always pivoting into a new direction. So that's how you actually be agile. So Dr. Nisa, with this, what are the skills that youth should develop in order to become more agile and resilient to change?
Well, being able to adapt is a skill itself. So that's one thing that everyone needs to have. I can say right now, like I'll give an example. When pandemic hits and everybody now is on Google Classroom, literally everybody on Google. I have nothing against Google Classroom. It's an amazing platform. But why are we following what everybody's doing? Everybody's on ground zero right now. It's time for us to step up. So instead of just you uploading notes, you create the lesson, you design the lesson. So, and then there are a lot of platforms out there that can have like what you said, something that can cater to it more, do it a bit more what the market needs, what student needs, right? So hence I could say right now that okay, open learning is the best right now. So that's one skill you need to learn. And I could say, okay, learnings, several other tools right now. You learn other tools. You learn how to use Zoom, how to use Meet, all these other platforms and other tools. That's the skills that you need to learn right now. But that won't be true because those are now. So if you to ask me what skills that you need to learn or the academics need to learn, I said that the skills is to adapt. Yeah. Adapt and stay relevant. Adapt and stay relevant. If these tools are relevant right now, you adapt to that and you be the master of that tools. And then in 5 years to come, there will be another tool that's going to be relevant and what people need. Then you adapt to that and you be the masters of that. And in another 10 years, there will be a different tool. You adapt to that and you be the master of this. It's not just about adapting. Yes, I mentioned adapting. Everybody mentioned adapting and becoming a master of that. Right, so you have to have that. That's one skill set. Everybody, I believe, not just academician, I believe all industry, they will require these skills because things change so fast, right? And you want to stay relevant. So yeah, that will be my answer to your questions, Madam Moderator.
So what happens if individuals want to stay in their comfort zone? Because there are ones like that where they just don't want to be comfortable. I'm comfortable in this kind of career, this kind of way of leading or working.
Yeah. What happens? Okay, so for me, it's simple. You reflect. I can't change a person, and nobody can change. Any leaders out there, I keep on telling my team, if the heart's not there, your heart's not there, right? The heart wants what it wants, right? So you reflect on what the career needs. If you're not fit to what the career needs, then you're not in the right career. If the career needs you to change, to improve, to adapt, to use this technology, the career needs that. Not because of what? Because your career fits who's your market. Your career is for what? If your career is a businessman, then who's your customer? If your career is a lecturer, who's your students? If your career is an artist, and who's in stuff like that, so you reflect on that. So, but if you're content and you do not want to change, but your career is then you can't go anywhere, you can't go far, and your heart is not in it. Your heart's not going to be in it ever, because it all goes back to here, your intention. Your intention when you're working into something, what's your intention, right? So if you're content and you don't want to change, but but things are not like that, so it's time for you to reflect, and perhaps there are other opportunities for you that suits what you want, right? So I do know a few people who are more very wonderful people who are still successful, who are not in this what do you call this fast-paced environment, right? But they find their own solace in other things, right? And they are fast-paced in their own little world, and it works for them. It works for them. So it comes back to, if you're asking me, if a person who, I'm content, I do not want to change, but surrounding you are changing and you have no choice but to change, and if you're still unwilling, goes back to what I mentioned at the beginning, you're in the wrong line. You're in the wrong line. So you reflect, and then you make your choice. You make a choice that makes you happy. At the end of the day, your mental has the best. Your heart, think of what you want, what makes you happy. That's the most important, and what your family wants is the most important. So if this career line is going to where that your mind is not going there, then reflect, and look at other possibilities. So that will be something that, that will be my advice.
Yeah, that's so true, Dr. Nisa. I think it's also that, like, if it's what your heart wants, like what you spoke about, then you're really passionate about it, and you will be open to change because you want to grow. You want to grow in that industry. You want to grow as a person. So if you like the line that what you're doing, then you will always adapt. You'll be excited to learn new things. You want to go out of your comfort zone. Yeah.
You won't even question. You are more than willing to. If that's your passion, if that's where your heart is, you won't even question. You dive in, you dive in without parachute. So that's a kind of passion. So if you're hesitating and you're wondering, you're couching, you're doubting, and then your mind is, you're doing things you're not happy, and you're doing things you're like, why am I doing this for all this time? And it's time to reflect.
Okay, to the audience out there, you heard it. So you got to adapt, you got to be agile, you got to find what you're really passionate in, and that's how you really change and develop this kind of skills for leadership. Okay, moving on to speakers with tech background. So we talk about leadership and decision-making, but we have also seen cases where some decisions have resulted in negative impacts, such as the Facebook and Cambridge Analytica data scandal and all these kind of things. So in that kind of sense, would you say that the tech industry is facing a leadership crisis? What are your thoughts, Manoj?
You know, the thing is that our world is a strange world. When we get something which is good and it keeps growing and growing and growing, ultimately it starts to become a little bit out of control. I mean, it's just like anything in life. If you like eating sweets, you can enjoy it a little bit, but if you have too much of it, you know, you're gonna have problems, right? So the idea here is Facebook and social platforms, they are a really good way for us to connect. I mean, look at the kind of good they have done around the globe. Today, any kind of you know, if you want to learn something, you can just go to YouTube and find that material. You know, Monir was saying earlier, even I come from that generation when we needed to learn something, we had to go sometimes drive for kilometers or hours to find the information that we were looking for. It was so expensive in some cases. I remember for me, a computer programming book used to cost like $50, which was totally out of my budget. And now today, anything I can, like even uh, Ivy League universities, they have opened up their courseware. I can just log into Coursera and take that course, right? So the idea is that information flow has become so easy. It has only helped the world, and not only helped the world in sort of at the individual level, but it has helped the world in creating communities, bringing people together with common interests. In many cases, in the time of crisis, in the time of war, people have used these platforms to coordinate with each other, help each other out, right? Now, the flip side is, as these companies are gathering more and more data, is inevitable they will become more and more powerful. Data is the new oil, data is the new gold. So the the thing is that we shouldn't come in the way of spreading free information. We shouldn't come in the way of allowing people to communicate with each other and congregate and connect with each other. Yes, we need to have some governance on how the data is collected, how the data is used, and for what purpose the data is used, and then allow each individual also to have access to that data and some say in what happens to that data. Because at the end of the day, if we don't do that, we are becoming the product. We are the companies who are using our data, they are turning around and using that same data and selling whatever they are trying to sell back to us. So basically we are the product and we are paying for that. So I think governance, security, privacy will be the key moving forward. Leadership, I won't go as far as saying there is a leadership crisis. It's just the nature of the world that we live in. As these things grow, sometimes they outgrow our existence. So we just need to find some solutions to rein that in.
Thank you, Manoj. Monir, would you like to add on that? Do you think the tech industry is facing a leadership crisis in terms of decision making?
No, I absolutely not. I don't believe in the. I mean, that entire question, I think is. I mean, that there's no leadership crisis in the tech industry. I mean, the future is in the tech industry. Some of the brightest minds and leaders are in the tech industry. We depend on the tech industry, especially during the pandemic. I just think the tech industry and the tech startups have grown super fast. So there's not enough great leaders to fill out all the roles. I think that's the big challenge. But a leadership crisis, no, not at all. I mean, we can't judge a whole industry just because of a handful of people. I mean, it's just like we don't judge the entire textile industry because some companies are abusing their employees in Bangladesh, or some of the factories producing tech hardware. We don't just judge all companies in oil and gas and pharma because of some individuals who've acted, who misconducted some of their work. So I would actually say it's on the contrary. Some of the some of the companies and organizations that help the most are the tech industries. Let's just use Gojek as an example. When the pandemic really kicked off back in March 2020, what we did, for example, was we didn't give salary increments to all our employees. Our leadership took pay cuts just to be able to help those who are in more need. For example, the driver partners, some of the mom and pop shops who are really struggling during this period. I mean, our driver partners couldn't drive because you couldn't take motorbikes, you couldn't take cars when the pandemic was really impacting the whole world. So instead of just saying, well, that's not our problem, we went in and helped. And I know other tech companies really care about helping others. It's about the people, it's about employee experience and so forth. So no, I don't believe there's a leadership crisis. But just like all other industries, you will always have some people who do unethical stuff, and blaming the whole industry or saying there's a whole industry with an issue is simply not correct.
Interesting thought. Yeah, it's true. So we spoke earlier about how technology, how you shared that technology has actually empowered leaders, right? All these tools, allowing them to embark on a digital leadership, right? For me, I actually find that I do a lot of digital leading in terms of freelancers and gig workers, because as a startup, I can't really afford to hire a lot of people. So what I do is I outsource. So then you get this whole ecosystem of gig workers, freelancers, and they are actually the youth who are selling their skills, who are finding job opportunities. Perhaps because of this pandemic, they couldn't get permanent job positions. So what do you think about this in terms of startups and how startups are using technology to hire freelancers, gig workers? Is that a new market? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, absolutely. I've just finished a business case on hybrid work, and definitely we are going to go much more after freelancers, consultants all over the world, which are kind of freelancers as well. I mean, thanks to technology, we are going to have an office in Jakarta because that's the capital of Indonesia. But I'm also opening an office in Bali because I know I can attract very special talent there. People are willing to move to Bali from all over the world. I know I can't attract, well, if I have to compete for senior talent in Jakarta versus Singapore, Kuala Lumpur, and Hong Kong, I will lose that battle just because of the city, unless I'm having a super interesting company, which Gojek is, of course. But telling people, well, do you want to work in Hong Kong, Singapore, or Bali? Then the competition for talent is a little bit more fair. So yes, absolutely. Technology has allowed us to do a lot of things that we wouldn't be able to do. I mean, I'm very much into humanitarian work. I've been able to raise more than 100,000 USD as a private individual for humanitarian work just through Facebook and social media. So yes, there will always be issues with social media and data privacy and so forth. But the world and opportunities it's opening is phenomenal. I mean, I can hire, and I have done that before. I mean, people from Pakistan, Bangladesh, who would never be able to work for some of the great startups that we have in the region or all over the world, just thanks to Zoom and some of the collaboration tools we are having. So yes, it's opening great opportunities. We just need to learn to take advantage of that instead of always just reading what the media is saying about the tech industry.
True, very true. Dr. Nisa, in the academic world, what are your thoughts on that? How has technology empowered leaders like yourself?
Well, first up, if I could just add up to the startup discussion, can I just say that I adore and I'm fully in awe with what the youngs are capable with right now. And I'm telling this out of what you call this, there are a lot of times as a lecturer, you want to inspire people, like how you want to inspire your team. As a leader, you want to inspire your team. But as in that process, in that journey, you found that you are inspired by them. You're inspired by your students, inspired by your young teams, or maybe, you know, those who are just joined in and what they're capable of, you're inspired by them. And that makes you feel like, oh, you know, you learn from each other. So what I really like is that the idea of that, this flat hierarchy. That's what I really like. So whether you're a leader, it doesn't make you any better than any other person. And it doesn't make that person any better than you. And the world goes round. So you could be a leader now, and then after that, someone else could be a leader, and someone else could be a leader. So that's what I like, and then I adore those who are venturing into all these what do you call this, the startups, all those who are, and going through all that, because it gives them opportunities. And the old structure, we grew up when we started studying degree. I remember that, okay, got to work, start at junior executive, senior executives, how much of those, and then, but I start thinking like, why? Why? If I'm 70 and then I'm great and all that, obviously, so I deserve it, but not just because of my age, but because I have the experience and I know how to lead. No difference than those who are 24, 25. If they might lack the experience, but that doesn't mean that they are not that much more willing. So the startups actually start to bloom right after I've already started in my maybe senior management role. So if I were to be in the era of where startups happens, I think, oh my goodness, I will drop everything and like join in and start something amazing, because it shows that the change of career is different now. It's no longer you're attached. Someone start from junior level, go up to higher, senior level. You can just start in anywhere. It's all flat. It's really all flat. And you hire more freelancers. Back then, I remembered I was 19 and they're like, oh, she's a freelance, and you start to feel like, oh, freelance, so not stable, right? But now that's where the money are. That's where people want that. That's where it is. So you gotta, that's why I said adapt and change. So, and even in academics, that's slightly different now. It's a bit difficult to get freelance lecturers in academic, because academic, you want to grow the students from year 1 to year 3. You want that consistent, you want that bond, and so on and so forth. But we got to remember that when we train students, it's for that kind of world, and they have to be agile and everything to adapt to that kind of world. So the mindset has changed, and I'm in awe with all the startups. And I believe with technology, that's something for a leader. For me, what I keep on having to do is remind people about not just the change in how you teach, not just the change in how you deliver your lesson in class, but the change in the outside world. In education world, you cannot stay in education world. Yes, you work there because you nourish, you love your students, you want to cater them, but you got to know what's happening outside world. You got to know how the world is changing. You got to know how the work landscape is changing, how the opportunities for your students is changing. You have to understand that, because you want your students, you want to build your students to have that energy, to have that. So we got a lot of initiatives. We do all these. Students have to be fearless, have to be they have to be creative, they have to, all of these things. It comes in what can you actually nurture them to be able to that world. If you don't understand this world, right? So if you don't understand this world, you won't be able to educate your students to face that world. You gotta understand the world. You gotta understand all these startups and all these opportunities, that these are going to be, in a way, if it's not the future now, it's going to be the future, and it's in Malaysia. I'm talking about a Malaysian context, right? So for a leader, it's very important that I just have to keep on, I guess, educating my team. They have to see the future, understand how the future is going to work, and only then you'll be able to work and to contribute as how the outcome that you want it to, that you want in the end, producing the great graduates that can embark in this world. So yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Nisa. So we don't have much time left, but I'd just like to add on to the point that you shared, that actually there's a difference how technology has shifted the organizational structure where you will have youngsters leading different kind of teams and departments because of their capability. So on my end at Plus Vibes, actually, I have a team of 5, but my team of 5 are all young. They're young, and you would say they don't have a lot of experience, but for me, I didn't judge them on their experience. It was based on their capability and ability to know all these different types of technology and systems, different things that you can use to make you way better than those with maybe 5 years or 6 years experience. So actually, the focus isn't about your experience anymore. Technology has changed the youth, the leaders. It's all about your capability to use technology, to get that kind of knowledge, and to be able to execute tasks that is way above those with people with a lot of experience. I'd like to share that my youngest manager, I would say, is only has 1 year experience. But his capability and the fact that I don't really need to micromanage or edit his work because it's really up to the par. So you see how technology and how he has learned to adapt and get different types of resources really changes you as a person. So maybe that's how technology can empower the youth to try out different types of things, to really focus on their own skills and not be so demotivated if they be like, oh, I don't really know this area, I'm not really tech savvy. You can always learn. It just takes practice, takes time. Everyone starts at 0. Nobody straight away starts at 100. So you guys have to be perseverant in terms of going through that journey. Okay, so we will open the floor.
I could actually add something there in the sense that when it comes to years of experience, right now we live in a time and era where, I mean, experience will always help you. I mean, I won't sit here and say it doesn't help at all, but if I look at Gojek and the kind of people we hired to bring us to a decacorn, and now, you know, it's one of the most valued companies in Southeast Asia. I still remember the surprise that I got when I joined Gojek, because I came straight from Maxis, which is really, you know, we did hire a lot of young, bright talent. But, you know, when we had those very senior critical roles, we would typically go out there and hire someone with 15, 20 years of experience. But when I joined Gojek, I saw young people in their late 20s, their early 30s, that they would, I mean, they're not that young anymore, right? And they were managing portfolios that normal corporates would never, ever give to someone below 40. And I still remember getting a surprise thinking, are all these really running, you know, go car, go food, go this and go that? I mean, that can't be possible. How are we succeeding with this? But really, I mean, if you look at Gojek today, leading in the most important market in Southeast Asia, which is Indonesia. Sorry, Malaysians, I love Malaysia. My heart is still there. But the most important market is Indonesia. And the way that everyone have just grown into their roles and excelled. Yes, they do mistakes, but I'm pretty sure the more experienced ones would do much worse mistakes, because they would say, well, that's not how we do it here. That's not how it's usually done. So it's actually great to have young talent who don't know what's not possible, because they make it possible, because they don't have the mental limitations. So I would say to the young people here, we are all young, I know, but the younger ones, they should not give up. They should work really hard. We are on a more level playing field today. So someone with 20 years of experience is not necessarily that much better than someone with only 2-3 years of experience. So make sure you get the right jobs when you finish your education. Don't necessarily go for the typical accountant jobs or the big fours. I mean, you can get a great career there as well. I mean, no offense. I'm pretty close with some of the HR directors there, but there's so many other opportunities. I mean, go to Grab. I mean, it's our competitor, but go there, go to Gojek, go to some of the more interesting startups in your industry. I mean, you have Fave, you have, I mean, if you're not in Malaysia, there are other great startups. Go to, you know, Facebook, Google, wherever you can, get that tech experience, get into a company which is not that traditional in the career planning, where you need, you know, 10 years or 5 years of experience before you can be a junior manager. There's so many opportunities out there. Go out there, grab them. Don't just focus on getting straight A's. I personally don't care about grades. I care about what have you done next to your studies. So some of the people from I-WELD, I mean, of course, I had to go into their LinkedIn. It's a problem that I'm having being in HR. I have to check your LinkedIn. And I've seen how much things have done on the side. I mean, I would much rather hire someone like that instead of hiring a geek with straight A's. So go out there, get the experience, get your hands dirty, and don't get intimidated by someone who's more senior than you, or someone who's coming from Denmark or Sweden or the UK. They're not smarter than you. We are all equal now. So all the best. I promise not to speak too much. I'll keep my sentences.
I really wish my students is here so they see what I preach every time in class. I'm not sure if some of them are here, but I keep on telling them it's not about your grades, not about your grades. Yes, sometimes they ask like, what's in the final exam questions? Why do you want to know what's in the final exam question? I want to get an A. But you wanna learn the value so you know how to adapt in the future, you know, to use it at your workplace. It's not about your grades. If you got A, I'm happy for you. But I really hope my students is here to hear himself from what this industry expert, saying, because then they see it's different now. It's different field now. Your 4.0 GPA without any ability to apply your skills will not help you. Will not help.
So true. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope you guys really had an insightful session. So we will open the floor to questions. And I think this question is perfect for Manoj, where the question is about understanding the need of open and nonverbal communication. But how do we strive in a setting where there is micromanaging happening and lack of empathy? So again, that nonverbal communication isn't really reflected.
Yeah. You see, empathy is a funny thing. It doesn't need to be one way. If you're not getting empathy from, say, your manager, you could start empathizing with them. You could start empathizing with their team member. It's just like smile. When we smile, other people around us automatically get a smile. It's contagious. Empathy is similar. When they see that somebody is empathizing with others, they will be encouraged inherently. That's just our human nature, that they will start to share that. So what do I mean by that? Like, you know, if your manager is not empathetic, you could say something like, it seems like you're stressed out. It seems like you are under a lot of pressure. And we would like to have a conversation with you about that and how we can take on a little bit of your burden and help you out. And then when you put it like that, there is going to be reciprocation. I almost guarantee that. So empathy, you can just initiate it yourself and it starts to happen.
Interesting. Okay. Really good points there. But this one's also focused on Dr. Nisa, when you're talking about your students, right, being passionate. And then we spoke earlier about certain topics where they were researching. But okay, let me just read this question. It's kind of long. What do you think about students being passionate about a certain topic? So we research, embrace, and understand about the change. We're inspired to ask questions to know more about it. However, we are being dictated on how we should ask questions and curb the way of our thinking. And this makes us students' enthusiasm die down, thinking that we're doing something wrong. So what is your opinion on this?
In the education line is very, very traditional line. So that's the struggles that I find. So if my students face that struggles, imagine if I'm facing that struggles, imagine the struggles that my students facing, because we're very rigid in how knowledge is being consumed. We're very rigid in how knowledge is being assessed. Having said that, knowledge is still knowledge. So I would say to the students, when you have this an open mind, have a lot of conversation about it with your lecturers. If it's not with your lecturers, with your fellow colleagues, not your colleagues, with whoever. Have a lot of conversation about it. Do not ever feel like your what do you call this, your mind or your output is being challenged, right? I mentioned about it's not about your grades. A lot of times when we assess, we cannot or fought not to go against the rubrics. So the rubrics here is a method of how we need to assess, right? Because we have to, that's just the way it is. That's how we need to assess students' knowledge. But some things that the rubrics cannot assess, that's something that students also have to focus on. So hence I keep on going back to the students. Do not feel down, do not feel demotivated ever. When you keep on thinking about you need to get this grade, right? You are chasing the grades, and that's where when you're asking something and then it doesn't go gel with the rubrics and then you feel down. Don't feel down. Why do you want to feel down? What's the worst that it's going to get? You're not going to feel for it, right? But you're going to gain more knowledge. So it links to that. So there are some students that are thinking like that. Do not feel down. Have further conversation, have further discussion. How you're being assessed is just how you're being assessed. It's just how you're being assessed, because we, as I say, it's a traditional line. There's a rubrics that we cannot go out from that rubrics. We have to follow the rubrics. But if you do understand whatever the rubrics need, fine, that's great. But understand further than that, and that's where you start to development. Do not ever feel down just because, you know, this was okay. I have to give you B for this because different kind of analytical skills. I'm looking at this kind of analytical skills. That's just because that's just how we need to assess in that context. But there's something more important than getting that right way of analytical skills. And that's only you can assess that, students. For students here, only you can assess, only you can determine how much you learn and how much you can apply, not your grades, not the rubrics.
Thank you so much, Dr. And last question for Monir. Do you think that the pandemic has really shortened the kind of tech gap between the younger generation and older generation in any field, school, company, or society? And if so, do you think this shortened gap can create more mutual conversation between the generations?
I mean, the pandemic have fast-tracked the digital transformation all the corporates have been talking about. I mean, I used to be the person to contact, at least within HR in a few countries in the region when it comes to digitalization and do things a digital way. But today that skill is not that special anymore because we're all doing that. So both yes and no. I mean, we have to remember using the tech you have at work is not the same as changing your mindset. So a digital mindset is not just about being able to use some of the tech tools you're forced to use. So, I mean, programs that I find amazing that I've seen, I think PwC was doing that. Please don't hang me up on that. I might be wrong. But where they have mentors, but instead of the senior experienced partners or senior managers mentoring the juniors, you had young, you know, almost fresh graduates, people 1 to 2 years who are really tech savvy, mentoring their seniors in how to be more digital savvy. So to that question, I would say, yeah, I mean, we are getting closer to speaking the same language. But, you know, whether we like it or not, there will always be differences in mindset, ways of working, ways of communicating, and so forth between the different generations. And that's not a disadvantage. We should be open to diversity. I mean, diversity is what creates innovation. And diversity is not just about females and males. Diversity is about race, it's about nationality, it's about religion, it's about, you know, even the educational background, whether you studied in Harvard or University of Malaya or somewhere else, that's also diversity. So, and age gap is also an area of diversity. So great ideas do come out through diversity. So I've seen great things coming out from having teams with young team members and team members who are a little bit more mature, to use a more political correct word. So yeah, I mean, we shouldn't be too concerned about that gap. I don't think there's a real communication gap. If that is, if the seniors can't cope and communicate with the younger team members, I would say it's more a culture issue in the company. It's more an issue with the individual. But I always welcome that gap. There has to be that gap. It helps the companies.
Thank you, Monir. And last question for all of you. This is by Sri Munira. what are the skills or mindsets that you have cultivated since uni days that have been life-changing to you? So if you could name just one skill that youth should really focus on, or a mindset that they should have during their uni days that have been life-changing for you to lead your career, to lead people, and to become who you are today, what would it be? Manush?
It's self-awareness for me. Know thyself is the key thing. Just know what drives you, what is your definition of success, and that helps you to understand other people as well.
Thank you. Dr. Nisa?
I only have one word: passion. That's it. That's drive everything. Passion, then everything goes.
Monir?
I would say think big, small. I mean, my career has been quite different from the average. I mean, born and raised in Denmark, worked in Malaysia for 11 years, been in different industries. I mean, I've had my own coffee shop. I've been in sales. I've been in marketing. I've been starting up a recruitment agency, and then I ended up in HR, both in the startup industry, in SMEs, in big corporates like Maxis. I think what's really important is think big, small. So even if you want to be a CEO, it's okay for you to read about books about being a great CEO, but your challenge is not being a CEO right now. You have to be great at what you're doing now and excel in that before you can grow into bigger and bigger roles, and one day hopefully become a CEO if that's what you're dreaming about. What I do see is a big issue among a lot of young people who's coming straight out from university is, from the very beginning, they want to have great responsibilities. But the great responsibilities, you need experience and deserve these responsibilities, because there are others who might be better than you who are more deserving. So one mindset that I've been following is become the best at what I'm doing now to be able to achieve what I want to be in the future.
Oh, thank you. So we've got self-awareness, we've got passion, and then we've got be the best at what you are now. And for me, I think it's not to give up, because I think life will always give you that kind of challenge. You'll go up and down. I mean, I've pivoted from doing food truck to cafes, to doing interior design, a lot of different things, because that was what the market needed. So again, every single phase in your life is a learning phase. You will learn something regardless of what you're doing, what industry you're in, but it will build you as a person. So no matter what, don't give up and always stay positive. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Manush, Dr. Nisa, Monir. I mean, it was very insightful for me. I hope it was insightful for all the youth out there. And thank you so much. I will now pass it on to Diana, the host.
Thank you so much. That was indeed an insightful session by our speakers, very well moderated by Ms. Madiha. After listening to our speakers, I agree that yes, indeed, the leadership style and all the things related to leadership has evolved so much, especially today that we are in this pandemic. It doesn't just affect the technology industry leaders out there, but also us as students. It's nice to know that we are all in this together, adapting to change together. Before we say goodbye to all of us, our speakers here, and also Ms. Madiha, maybe we can have a short photo session, a quick one. Will that be okay?
Yes.
All right, okay, so my I-WELD team will have to take the picture, maybe in 3, 2, 1. Maybe one more, 1, 2, 3. Thank you, Ms. Madiha, Mr. Manush, Mr. Monir, and as the IUMW student myself, I am very happy to have you today, Dr. Nisa. Take care, speakers. Hopefully we all can meet physically one day. Thank you, Ms. Madiha. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone. All the best.
Bye, everyone.
All right, moving on today, guys, we are going to have a collaborator session with our youth collaborators, which are the IMU Student Representative Council, UMW Student Council, Interact Club of Sekolah Menengah Kebangsaan Ahmadiyah Baki Kuala Lumpur, also Nyawa Organization. For this collaborator session, we will showcase their initiatives. Please welcome collaborators.
Hello everybody, welcome to a short promotional video on IMU's Student Representative Council. Introduction. IMU SRC is a body of 16 students from different faculties sharing a similar goal to represent the students of IMU. Now here is a quick overview of 16 of our current council members. Feel free to approach any of us if you have any issues regarding your experience here at IMU. Our goals here at SRC is to be a voice for students, serving as a bridge between staff and students of IMU. We strive to make sure our students get the best possible experience here at IMU. We hope to serve you, the students, no matter what the situation is. Remember, the minds and ideas of thousands are greater than just 16, so help us help you. To further contact us, please do so via this email here.
Chase down a brand new adventure. Step up, step out and enter in. There's no time for stalling. The wild is calling. When you risk it all, you learn to feel
Hi, I'm Janelle, the Advocacy Lead at Mental Health Aid Association, NYAWA. At NYAWA, through public education, non-partisan research, and evidence-based policy advocacy, we aim to build communities and spaces that value mental health and provide quality mental health services. This year, we rolled out My Cerita, where social media influencers shared their mental health journeys. We also conducted the Buah Fikiran series, where we engaged with speakers from diverse backgrounds on different mental health topics, including suicide decriminalization. In conjunction with World Suicide Prevention Day, we also organized the Layar Perak film screening in collaboration with media partners to normalize mental health conversations through local short films. In conjunction with World Mental Health Day this year, we'll be organizing a mental health policy case competition. For competition updates and more info on all our other initiatives, follow us on Instagram and Twitter at @nyawa_org. Thank you.
Thank you, collaborators. We really appreciate your support. Moving on, guys, we have the most exciting part, which is the Kahoot segment. To those of you who attended ILP Day 1 yesterday, this is going to be familiar because it's just the same steps that you'll need to take to our Kahoot. So if you guys can see, you can go to kahoot.it and enter the game pin as shown on the screen. I'm also going to make my screen full so we all can see it better. Okay, guys, make sure you enter your real names because the ILP team are going to help track it later. If you don't use your full name, it's going to be difficult for us, but it's all right. You can connect with us on Instagram if you win the Kahoot. And I would encourage everyone to quickly join our Kahoot because as a student myself, I really appreciate and I really want to gain as many certificates that I can for me to insert in my resume, in my CV before I get into internship and into a permanent workforce. So please guys, let's all join the Kahoot. I'm looking at the names here. Am I seeing familiar names since yesterday? I see Haras here. Is it the same Haras from yesterday? Haras won actually first place yesterday. So Haras, if you're from ILP Day 1, do chat in the chat box later. Tell us about it. And guys, maybe later you can leave your LinkedIn profile so we all can connect. While waiting for more people to join, we are going to wait for more people to join, yeah? All right, let's see. We are at 94 now. $95, and we have maybe 100 something to join. So are you guys done? Are you guys done joining? Should I give it maybe 10 more seconds? 10, 9, 8. If you guys want me to wait for a while, do comment on the chat box. Maybe you're still entering. Let's go, let's go. Can we have 100 to join? 4 more? Or we should proceed maybe in 5 seconds? 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay, I'm still seeing names coming in. Okay, let's go, let's go. All right, I think we're done. Let's go to the first question, guys. Make sure you guys are fast. Make sure your internet connection is stable. Let's go. Good luck, guys. So on to the first question. How does leadership evolve in the 21st century? Let's go. Fast, guys, fast. 50 have answered. 98. Come on, come on. 100 answers. Yes, most of you got correct, and the answer is more democratic. Yes, it has revolved along the years. And the scoreboard, Sakina is leading right now. Moving on to the next question. Question number 2. Let's go, guys. One has answered 6, 14. Let's go. $9,300 answers now. Are we ready to see the scoreboard? Recovering fast. That is the right answer. Can we look at the scoreboard now? Ahna is leading right now, guys. We have to catch on her him. Let's go, let's go. Moving on to the next question, shall we? Question number 3. We have 10 questions, okay? The forces stand in the 21st century skills. Let's go, let's go. 87 have answered. Communication, collaboration, and critical thinking is the right answer. So look at the scoreboard. It keeps changing. So this is getting more exciting, more competitive, since we're not seeing only the same names in the top 3. So let's go. Maybe the score will change later. Let's see. Question 4. Let's go, guys. Wow, you guys are really fast. We're at 70, almost 90 have answered, almost 100 now. Okay, let's see. What is the correct answer? Critical thinking. Who's leading? Who's leading now? Who's leading? Tyrene, see, the name keeps changing. This is very, very competitive, okay? Let's go. The next question. 5 more questions left. Take your time to answer, but you guys are really fast. Blue color is the answer. Hopefully you guys click the right answer and maybe we can see the scoreboard. Fiza. Fiza is leading right now. Wherever you are, Fiza, hopefully you're doing fine and maybe get to win. Let's go to the next question. Question number 6. The art of dealing with people in a sensitive and tactful way. So what do you guys think? Which act is this? So let's see. Diplomacy. That's right. That is the correct answer. Amin Zaini is leading right now. This is getting very, very serious. We are seeing different names each time. Moving on. Let's finish this quick so we can see who are the top 3 winners. Question number 7. Let's see who got it right. Shaida is on the first score right now. Let's go to the next one, shall we? Question number 8. So in the answers are all myth except for one answer. So which is the answer? Leaderships can be learned. Yes, of course, leadership can be learned. This is why we are all here today. Ahna is back in the first place. So I'm excited to see if you could really stay in the first place. Let's go. This question is related to our protege program. So who can apply? You can get the answers on our Instagram page actually. Do follow us later. I'll give you guys the Instagram. So who can apply? Each one of you can apply actually. Don't worry. We'll talk more about ILPP later. Moving on. The last question. When is the ILPP registration deadline? When do you guys know? Are you guys taking wild guesses? Seventeen of you got it correct. You must have seen it on our Instagram post, LinkedIn, and also on Facebook. Let's see for the final results, shall we? Let's look at the podium now. Number 3, we have Aisha. Wow, congratulations, Aisha. We have Emma in the second place. And in the first place, we have... Who is she? Oh, we have Fiza. Congratulations, guys. The 3 of you have won the special recognition certificate. Again, I would like to emphasize, to highlight on how these certifications are actually very, very great for you to insert in your CV and also resume. Thank you to all of you for participating in our Kahoot segment. Thank you very much. Thank you so much all. And to our winners, please head over to our Instagram at I-WELD Malaysia, providing your details such as your name, IC number or passport number, and not forgetting your email address. Please do that so we can reach out to you for your certificates. Moving on for our last session today, let's invite the founder and vice president of I-WELD to the virtual stage to share a little bit about I-WELD and our upcoming recruitment drive ILPP. If you have any questions about I-WELD or ILPP, please put them in the chat box. So without further ado, I would like to invite my lady boss, Anna, into the e-floor. Thank you.
Hi, Dee. Hello. Okay, so yeah, I'm just going to take a bit of your time to share a little bit more about what's happening concurrently with I-WELD Leadership Program. We currently have I-WELD Leader Protege Program, which is in simpler terms, I-WELD's 2021 recruitment drive. So we are welcoming youth of all, not all ages, age 17 to 25 years old. So if you're in this age range, please look us up on Instagram, website. We have our website. We also have TikTok. We have creative individuals who are managing our TikTok account, Instagram account, Facebook account, whatnot. So yeah, look us up, see what we've been doing for the past about nearly 2 years. And yeah, we are welcoming everyone who is passionate, driven, and want to make a change to join I-WELD Malaysia. So what are the benefits of joining I-WELD Malaysia? I think what do you think, Dee? As a start, I would say it's definitely increasing knowledge, your experience, the network that you have, because in I-WELD, we don't only belong to one university. We have various universities across Malaysia. We're from different backgrounds. We have accounting students, psychology, engineering, even computer science, business, and then mathematics. Was it mathematics? Yeah, engineering, whatnot. So much. It's big group of people who come from different background, who can exchange opinions, share different knowledge. So it's something that you won't get in your classroom. It's also something different from just university clubs. So if yeah, you want to be the leader of tomorrow. Of course, there are so many organizations in Malaysia that you can join, and I-WELD is one of it. So yeah, okay, so now I'm just going to take a little bit more of your time. I'm going to share my screen of what we've done for the past few years. So previously, I-WELD was managed by a group of business partners. So this is what they have done for every year from 2015 up to 2019 before they handed it over to us. So this was the breakfast, buka puasa with golongan asnaf. We have about 6,000 anak yatim under us, I-WELD. Moving on, after we got I-WELD, the first official event that we conducted was International Students Networking Dialogue. So yeah, this was our very first official event, which thankfully we also managed to do it physically. So we had over 60 attendees, and this was pre-COVID. It was so nice to connect with everyone. Yeah, this was in December 2019. Moving on, in another December 2019 was Lenahan in Hospital Kuala Lumpur. This was just us mingling around with the patients at Hospital Kuala Lumpur. And then, yeah, our first competition is the Young Architects and Designers competition. This was fully sponsored by our parent company. And then moving on. This is one of I-WELD's highlights, actually. We had a live conference with the Member of Parliament of the UK, Baroness Udin. We shared the COVID-19 situation of Malaysia and United Kingdom back in April 2020 when COVID just hit.
I still remember, and it was very interesting, very insightful.
It was so nice. It was a nice 1 hour-ish. Yeah, and then we had Building the Future You from the Present. So this program is actually ongoing. So we have it every, I think about biannual or quarterly. So yeah, and then what else we have? We have Lenahan in Subang. So this is under the welfare category of I-WELD. And then we have another Lenahan in Terengganu. Oh, sorry, before that, International Student Networking Dialogue again in October. And then, yeah, Lenahan in Terengganu. So this is the fun parts of I-WELD. We travel, we go places to help people and whatnot. And then what else? We have Virtual Economics Forum. So this Virtual Economics Forum was officiated by the former Chief Malaysian Secretary, Tan Sri Ismail Baka. And then moving on, we have I-WELD's first anniversary after it was handed over to us. We had this in Doubletree Hilton at KL. It was really nice connecting with everyone. Yeah, and then this year's first event was World Street Children's Day. We did this with Sekolah Jalinan Kasih Chowkit. So we aided about 150 homeless children. And then another Building the Future You from the Present in March. So this one we collaborated with Undi 18 Malaysia. Moving on, I-WELD's Heart of Giving. This is one of I-WELD's biggest achievements. We helped hundreds and hundreds of individuals, families during the holy month of Ramadan this year. And then Spend Like Local Virtual Festival, another biggest achievement of I-WELD. This was fully sponsored by SWIFT. We managed to get 2,000 virtual attendees for this event. It was 100% virtual. It's a virtual reality event. And do we have anything else? Yeah, and then this is just a little bit of the behind the scenes at I-WELD. We went to the beach in Terengganu. Our test runs last up until 1 in the morning. And then our I-WELD Raya shooting was so much fun. And then, yeah, more Terengganu physical events and just connecting with people from different countries. So on your bottom right was us connecting with a student in Korea. So yeah, that's a little bit of what I-WELD is all about. And I really hope to, this could, you know, gain interest of yours. And yeah, if you would like to join us, a QR code will appear on your screen. Think about it. Don't rush it. There's a bit of essay questions that you need to fill up. It'll be on your screen in a moment. Yeah, so while we're at that, do you guys have any questions? Okay, let me just see.
So we have the QR codes now to our ILPP form, also to our Instagram, but maybe our team can also put that in the chat box if you guys can't see it on your screen right now. So we have questions from our participants, but before that, I also like to share my personal experience being in I-WELD. It's truly an honor. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for Anna. She is our greatest lady boss at I-WELD. You guys will have fun being in this organization. We learn so much. We make new friends. We connect with other people across the globe. And also at I-WELD, you'll also be given the opportunity to travel, not just local, but also international. We have that kind of opportunities for you. So please do think about it. Just like how Anna said previously, think about it. And I am the member of I-WELD. I'm actually the social media marketing manager. I really like my job. I enjoy being here. So we're looking forward to have you on board. And I'm seeing a lot of you sharing your LinkedIn. That is also very nice. We'll go through it, right, Anna? And Anna, do you want to answer questions now? I can read for you the questions.
Yes, please, Diana.
Okay, so one person asked, do we have healthcare students in our organization, do we?
We don't have yet, but if you are, then you'll be the first one. So
yes.
Welcome.
We really include diversity and inclusion. We welcome them all. Please do join from whatever background you're from. And someone also said they love the purpose of I-WELD for helping the needy. That's not a question, but a statement, also a compliment. We really, really appreciate it. Yes. And let me find for other questions. What are some great benefits? Like I say, I get to connect with other people. When we have our flagship events, we tend to work with more professionals. So that make me less nervous dealing with more professional people than I am, a lot older than I am. We have test runs with our global speakers, the speakers that we never meet physically. But since we always have the test run with them, we have Google Meet, Zoom meetings with them, I get less nervous in connecting. And what about you, Anna? What are your top 3 benefits of joining I-WELD?
I mean, I wouldn't say, because my personal experience, it's not about joining. So it's about managing and like being there since the very beginning, after seeing everything today. So I think one of I-WELD's greatest achievements is seeing this I-WELD members' growth. I've seen so many of my members, including Diana, including the people behind the scenes in front of me right now, have grown from an introverted person just last year, and then giving them more responsibility, trusting them more with their work, giving them the opportunity of personally liaising with, the speakers, our VIP and whatnot. They have grown from that and blossomed into such a beautiful individual today, a leader today, I would say. So that's one. And then, other great benefits would be that, like Diana said, I would say the fun parts of I-WELD, because definitely joining an organization is not always, sunshine and rainbows. There are days that you get less sleep, just to be honest, because, there are test runs that you need to do, but behind those test runs, we have control centers where, we get to physically meet our members and like connect with them, have literal human interaction and whatnot. We provide monthly self-development trainings and workshops. So, and then we also have this very, very important part, I think, internship and job opportunities. So when you're with I-WELD, we have several companies that are PNC under us. So as an I-WELD member, if you need help to boost your profile, resume, whatnot, so we'll be able to do that. What else? Definitely gain and enhance your soft skills, especially management, communication, and leadership skills.
Yes, I would like to emphasize on the human interaction part, especially now that we're in this pandemic. If you guys are bored and you have nothing to do, at I-WELD, we are always occupied with our works, and we also have our weekly check-ins. And if we have any troubles, we do let our team know. We can also talk about our mental health. Everything like that is very important in I-WELD. So someone asked, how heavy is the workload?
How heavy?
Yeah.
I don't want to be, I don't want to have filter and whatnot. Like, let's just be transparent. Like, even if you go to any other organizations, it's always like, because you apply and then you get a certain role, responsibility. So let's just say you are a content creator. Content creator, because in I-WELD, we do content 3 times a week. It depends, because if we have events, it's more. But if it's nothing, so it's just once a week. So content creation is just like, look up what we need to post. And then our caption, coming up with captions. So Diana personally does that every single day. Designing part is a heavy part, but we have quite a number of designers in I-WELD. So, the workload is, I wouldn't say as equal, because different time, this person has more, and then when this person has the rest, and then that person takes over and things like that. So, and we are very flexible. We understand we're all students. Some of my members are currently already working. Myself is working, and then quite a number are already interning and whatnot. So we understand that sometimes you can't attend to meetings, that you have to pass on your work to other people. So yeah, we understand that.
All right, so moving on, there's also a question from Rihanna. She's asking, will there be any interview session for the recruitment?
Yes, there will, but it is a group interview session. So what you need to do is you need to grab all the chance you can to stand out, because it's a group interview, definitely. So yeah, it's going to be easy. It's just for us to get to know you better, for us to see where your skill set is, where your interest lies, so that we can put you in the best fit position.
Yes. Thank you, Anna. Also from Hannah, we have a question that says, is there a contract once we join I-WELD? Do we have to stay with the organization for a certain period of time?
Yes, we do. It's called a term. I don't want to say it's a contract. It sounds so scary. So it's a term of 1 year. So it's from, because if you apply, then it's a property training program. So there's a training period. And then once the training period ends, then there's a transition period. So transitioning period is when you get the full responsibility. And then after the transition period is the whole 1 year term. And then you'll end December next year.
Yes, thank you. So someone is asking, only 17 and above can apply for the Protege program. Can someone 25 years old above join? So what would you say, Anna?
Okay, I think yes, on this only 17 and above, because we understand with like SPM and under SPM and whatnot. So yeah, we would encourage people who students who have finished SPM. But if you haven't finished SPM, it's fine as well. Just apply, and then you'll start your training sometime after SPM next year. If I'm not mistaken, it would be March or April. So that is fine. After 25, it depends on your commitment, honestly. But our encouraged age is 17 to 25. Yep.
Yes, thank you. I also saw a comment from Miss Andrea. She said it's definitely worth to join in this amazing team where you can grow. Thank you, Miss Andrea. Actually, if you guys don't know, Miss Andrea is our leadership icon. And we have all the icons and people that help us to grow in this organization. It's not just us youth. So we'll be monitored from time to time. So do you guys have any other questions? Let me just go through for one last time. Let me see. Hopefully you guys can scan the QR code, and if you can't, maybe we can insert it also in the chat box. If you have any inquiries, you can DM us at I-WELD Malaysia on Instagram. Will this recruitment open every year? I just saw this question. So sorry. Anna, would you like to take that?
Yeah. Okay. So yes, we do have every year. It's end of the year. Every year, annually. Yes, we do.
Okay, so maybe we can also take this question. Dylan is asking, what counts as NGO? How is I-WELD an NGO? How is it different than uni clubs and societies? And how do they count actually?
Okay, so basically how we're different from uni clubs and societies is because we are an independent entity, I would say, and we are registered under the Registrar of Societies in Malaysia. So yeah, that is why we're different. And when you're in I-WELD, like I said, it's independent. So like for uni clubs, you're tied to unis. So there are certain things that you can't do. There are certain things that, you have to, I would say, alter to their advices and whatnot. Not that everything's open in I-WELD, but it's just that we are more free to do what we want. And like I said, we're very flexible. So sometimes when somebody has an idea of doing something, we'll just go for it lah. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Anna. So Greg is asking, does this count towards my work experience? Anna, what should you say about that?
Okay, so unfortunately, it wouldn't go under the work experience section in your resume. However, it is very worth the leadership experience part.
Yes.
I think quite a number of my IL members, when they apply for jobs, they get asked this about IL a lot. So yeah, I think it's a very weighted thing in your resume. Yeah.
Yes, so if we do not have any other questions, maybe you'd like to say a few words, Anna, before we end for today?
Oh, we have one more in the chat box.
Yes, actually.
Yep, we do.
Let's see, Anna, do you want to read the questions while I'm still going through it?
Yep, can. When hired, is there a specified duration to work at I-WELD, or can we join for part-time? I don't know. It's, how do I say it? Because it's everyone's students and like working here in I-WELD. So I wouldn't say it's a full-time thing as well, but there are definitely meetings that you need to attend to. There are tasks, responsibilities that will be assigned to you. So yeah, as long as you can finish it within the deadline, it should be fine. You don't need to attend to 24/7 of your time. So yeah.
Okay, so we have another interesting question in my opinion. What are you looking for in individuals for this recruitment?
Okay, very, very simple. As long as you're passionate, as long as you want to learn and want to make a change, come. We welcome you. It does not matter if you don't have any NGO experience. If you think you're not good enough, you don't have the skills, don't worry. Trust me. Oh, and sorry. Don't worry about language barriers and whatnot. We have international students. Let me just call up Hassan, Faiza. Yeah, they're all not Malaysian, and it's nice to have a different nationalities in IO Malaysia. So yeah, as long as you're again passionate, want to learn, want to make a change, just come, just apply. We will guide you through it all. Yeah.
Yes, so maybe I can take the last question so I can answer this honestly. So it's Izhan Haziq is asking, do you enjoy being in this organization? As a full-time student myself, I'm a final year student. I really do enjoy, I like having this connection. I like this path where I'm able to grow, expand my personal growth, my connection with others. And if I'm having any difficulties, I always speak up my points, speak up my mind. So there's not much space for me to hate the organization because I always get to communicate. I always get to share my ideas. So yes, personally, I really do enjoy it. Anna, do you enjoy it?
Yes, of course. I do very, very much. Yeah, that's all I can say. I love it so much. With my team, with my family and friends, I call I-WELD my baby. So yes, you can tell from there that I do love I-WELD very, very much. And I enjoy being here with everyone. So yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of our team members here in the chat box. So guys, if you want to be a part of us, please do scan the ILPP form, fill it in, we'll go through it, see you during the interview, and hopefully we can have you on board, right, Anna?
Yes, yes, yes. All right, Dia, over to you.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, participants. I believe we have come to the end of our I-WELD Leadership Program for the year 2021. This is very sad for me, but I hope you guys enjoy it as much as we enjoy it. Thank you so much for participating. ILP is indeed one of our greatest achievements, but we will not stop until here because we have more interesting events. So Follow us on Instagram to get more updates. Maybe we can show the QR code again or insert the link in the chat box. And again, I'd like to remind you guys, I would like to welcome you all to join I-WELD and be a part of the team. We are recruiting new members, as explained by Anna previously. And maybe we can also have the feedback form now. If you guys fill in the feedback form for both days, ILP day 1 yesterday and day 2, you'll be able to get the certificate. And these certificates are very, very expensive and useful for you to insert in your CV and also resume. And if you have any inquiries, any problems, any difficulties with the form, please do reach out for us again at I-WELD Malaysia on Instagram. Thank you so much. We are hoping to see you again in our next event. Thank you very much all. Goodbye and stay safe.